Hi there and welcome to yet another video. And today I'm very excited because I have a very special guest, someone that some of you are familiar with, someone who's a household name. And he's going to share with us his leadership journey, his expertise. And for those who read the Business Daily, this is going to be interesting because you'll see the man himself. So without much further ado, welcome Mr. Mike, and thank you very much for hosting us, welcoming us to your beautiful home. Asante sana.
Welcome.
Yeah. So for the few who don't know you, who is Mike Eldon?
Well, Mike Eldon is a combination of formations. Mike Eldon's parents were Romanian. So Mike Eldon's blood is as British as yours. But he wasn't born in Romania. His parents had to leave during the Second World War.
Yeah.
They found their way to what was then Palestine, where they married in what is now Israel. Mike Eldon was born there, and they moved to London when he was 3, having spoken Romanian for the first 3 years of his life, which he still knows how to speak.
Are you fluent in Romanian?
Yes.
Okay.
And then when he was 3, he learned English and was brought up in England, did an economics degree, and became a graduate trainee in what we then used to call computer companies, which we now call IT companies. And he worked with this British computer multinational through to 1977, when he was asked, Mike, would you like to go and be our general manager in Kenya? I said, what? Kenya? Africa? I've never thought about that at all. But he said yes. So now switching to me, I came here in 1977. And it was my first...
46 years ago.
Yeah.
As of today.
Yeah. It was my first serious management position as general manager of this subsidiary. And I had 100 Kenyans working for me in a computer company then. Of course, there were these huge mainframes in big air-conditioned rooms.
Yeah.
And each one cost, then in sterling, several £100,000.
Yeah.
In 1979, I sold a computer to the University of Nairobi for £700,000. But I'm not a techie. I've never been a techie.
Okay.
I'm into people and strategy and that sort of stuff. So that's what I've been doing ever since. And when I went through my life from positions of, management, senior executive leadership, to more board positions and consultancies, when we get into our third age, we develop a portfolio. So I've been loving this portfolio life of directorships, consultancies, and my writing.
Okay.
And I just love being here in Kenya because there are so many wonderful Kenyans. I don't come here for the beach. I don't come for the wildlife. I come for the Kenyans.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you for that background. I know you also run a management consultancy firm. Could you tell us about your experiences, helping businesses?
Sure. In 1993, my son Dan was a Reuters photojournalist in Somalia. And sadly, he was killed there at the time. And I decided I would set up a living memorial to him. And it became what I called the Dan Eldon Place of Tomorrow, the depot. And without going into why we called it the depot, although that's what he called his room with all his stuff, we started working with high school children doing outdoor experiential activity for confidence building and team building. And it worked really well, and including for teachers. Then we graduated to university students and the young Rotarians, the Rotaractors. And then we became much bolder. And we did it for the different group companies in our IT group. And then our second client was the Treasury. When Martin O'Donnell became PS, part of the dream team. And we helped him transform the culture of the Ministry of Finance, to flatten the pyramid and to have energy, instead of flowing inwards and upwards, flowing downwards and outwards to the beneficiaries, the Kenyans. It was such a success developing these change champions. And with that confidence, we then realized that we were serious value-add management consultants. We've become more and more reluctant to use the word team building, because it's really been very trivialized. And team building is something you go with the boys and girls out to a nice place, have a fun day, have a few drinks, and then you do it again in a year's time and so on. No. For us, with our management consulting background, yes, we have a good time, but as we express it in the depot, and as a reflection of who I am and who my son Dan was, we expect to have a good time doing good things. It's not either or. And particularly in government, where you're meant to be serious with your suit, or you're drinking in a bar. No, you're doing this outdoor stuff, you're enjoying yourself, you're relaxed, but in order to have open, constructive conversations with significant, sustainable outcomes that take you from where your culture was to your aspirational state, to where you want it to be, where people work well with each other, across departments, between levels, between head office and field office, between board and management, and so forth. That's what we nurture. We tickle, we nudge, so that people don't waste energy on conflict, on withdrawal, on timidity, on fear. They are open, collaborative, there's synergy, and therefore productivity. That's how we work with whatever we do. And as we were doing this team building culture stuff, it graduated into strategy development, of which culture is a component. So culture strengthening strategy integrated within overall strategy.
Thank you very much. So in today's discussion, I want us to have a conversation on 3 topics. And the first one is how, especially for SMEs, owner-managed business, how can we professionalize the businesses? Then the second conversation will be, how can someone lead through influence and not power? Not about position. And the last one is, are you ready to be coached? Are you coachable? And for those of us who are watching us, the topics I'm referring to, they're all based on his writing. He does have a column on Business Daily. And so before we just go to the first topic, tell us about your experience writing for the Business Daily, and what kind of impact have you seen those articles have? And I remember, for me, that's how I came to know about you.
Well, 16 years ago, when I happened to be in a meeting with the Dean of the London Business School, who was visiting here, and where I and the founder, editor of Business Daily, were meeting with him, that's when he asked me, Mike, would you like to be a columnist in Business Daily? Which I'd never thought of doing. I'd written articles about management and IT and stuff. Travel writing I had done. So I thought about it, and I said, I don't know, maybe how many topics will I have? All these deadlines, I'm so busy. But I said yes, but fortnightly, not weekly.
Not a weekly affair.
So I said yes to that. I've been doing it ever since. I've done over 400 articles now, and it's part of my normal life. I love doing it. I never imagined that I would be able to keep doing it ad infinitum. And I never thought about the consequences for my brand. But it has had a consequence on my brand. Fortunately, there's that, because they don't pay me a fortune. What influence do I have is a very good question. We'll be coming on influence versus power later. But I know that a few months ago, Sunny Bindra, who writes about very similar topics to what I do in the Sunday Nation, he asked the same question. What is the so what of people reading a few hundred words on a regular basis? And he and I and other columnists would like to imagine that we stimulate purposeful reflection. And very often he and I finish with, so what about you? Where are you in all of this? And so we hope that people will not simply rush to the next article, but will say, well, where am I? What should I be doing more of and less of as a result of reading this article? Including getting in touch with Mike to start working with him.
To start working with Mike. Okay. On to the first topic, professionalizing family businesses. And this is a topic which is very close to my heart. As you know, I run a HR consultancy firm, and among my clients is owner-managed family businesses. And as I was sharing with you before the shoot, there are instances where we recruit very good candidates, passionate, experienced, employees who are looking to make a mark. But they join this organization, and within 4 or 5 months, they call you, Paminas, I want to call it quits. So here we are. How can we be able to empower the family businesses? So I want us to look at what can they do? What are family businesses? Where are they getting it wrong? And what do they
Where are they not professional?
Yeah, exactly.
What does professionalizing mean?
Is it only
How
HR?
would they relate to it?
Exactly. Is it only the HR aspect? Is it about putting systems? I mean, you do have an IT background somehow. When you talk about professionalism, let's start even at defining what is professionalism.
Well,
and this is an article you did 2 years ago at the height of COVID. Can see you did it in November.
A professional is considered professional by contrast to an amateur, right? What's the difference between an amateur and a professional athlete, for instance? A professional gets coaching, is trained, is disciplined, competes against the best, expects in 2-3 years' time maybe to break the Kenya record, or
to be better,
to go to the Olympics, or
to
whatever.
rise to the top.
So how do you become more professional from being amateurish? Particularly when so many owner-managers, founders, and their relatives, succeeding generations, so say, what's your problem? We're doing very well. We've been going all these years. We make profits.
We are growing at a very fast
I
rate.
sustain a good lifestyle. Why should I, whatever this word professionalize is, why should I bother with it? And why should I pay you, a consultant, your heavy fees when I'm trying to save money? So what's the purpose? What's the benefit of professionalizing? And what does it mean in this context? And what is at the center of it is this steepness of the pyramid. Like I was telling you with Treasury. When Martin O'Drough came in as PS, it was expected that he would have all the power. He would make the decisions. He would give the instructions.
Being the man at the top.
The permanent secretary. And so it is with the chairman, with the owner, telling people what to do, giving directions, instructions, and micromanaging.
But you're the vision carrier. You've worked so hard to be where you are.
You may have that. But you're so committed to day-to-day detailed operationalized work. It's like when I'm in a meeting with such people, every 3 minutes they're on the phone dealing with some transaction. or someone comes into the office for them to
Putting
sign
out fires.
something,
Yeah.
putting out fires, closing a deal, talking to the bank. So there's insufficient delegation. And there's insufficient delegation because there's insufficient trust. And there's insufficient trust because there hasn't been a development of the people or that kind of adult-adult relationship where you can empower and feel relaxed enough, not letting go completely, not disappearing,
Yeah.
not going off to play golf every day, but to allow for this softening and flattening, that the bigger you get, the more essential it becomes. And this is when the big challenge comes from family businesses, any businesses, when you have sustained growth and you're not delegating more and bringing other levels of empowered management.
Yeah.
That is professionalizing, and including not just hauling in relatives, not just rewarding loyalty, which again is an unprofessional aspect of many family businesses. If you tell me what I want to hear, if you've been loyal to me for 20 years, I keep favoring you and therefore demotivating others who are smarter or work harder or were recruited by Terminus or whatever. So how do you have strategic plans into the longer term future? That's professionalizing. How do you have a performance management system for their implementation and adaptation? Is it just you and your brother when you drive to the industrial area who have the strategic planning conversations?
Okay.
Is it at your family Sunday lunches?
Yeah.
Or is it as a team of a senior
there's
management
a structured
team,
approach.
some of whom are not family members, some of whom may have joined you more recently, that you have this diversity of view that you bring together as an integrator, as a consensus builder, with joint ownership to drive performance.
Yeah.
I could talk much more about professionalizing,
Yeah.
but I think I've touched some key points.
Yes, you have. I mean, it's about competence, it's about empowering the team. And yet, you know, when I interact with many of the business owners, they don't want to micromanage. They would want to have as much time to themselves. What comes in between? Because you want the business to succeed, you want it to go, you know, to higher heights, and yet you are the roadblock. Do many of them know?
Well, you say they don't want to. The question is, has it occurred to them not to want to because they're so into it day to day?
They are not self-aware.
They're not self-aware. Maybe it's what their father did.
Yeah.
It's what they've done throughout. It's what they expect is standard and necessary.
That's the way they were taught that this is how
yet,
business is done.
when they bring in people like you and me,
Yeah.
it's an opportunity to create space for such thoughts.
Yeah.
So then you ask the question how to make it happen.
Yeah. So before we even go to that, how then do you bring about change? What are the signs that a business owner needs to look out for that they need to change?
Burnout,
Okay.
work-life balance problems, no time to rise onto the balcony and look down on the ground floor,
Have a bird's eye
never
view.
mind a helicopter.
Yeah.
No time for strategic thinking, except, as I say, when driving with my brother in the car. And getting older, succession planning. That's another big absence.
Yeah.
And succession planning, not necessarily to your eldest son. Although, if your eldest son is up for it and wants
Why
it,
not?
and you and he work well together, certainly. And you know I'm a director of Davis and Shurtleff,
Yeah.
where the chairman, Alec Davis, has been nurturing his two sons at an appropriate pace for them to rise up the organization,
Yeah.
as he eventually does more traveling and other interests and chairing Gertrude's Children's Hospital and so forth. So that is another big requirement, that in addition to building the capacity within, you have to have something out there that draws you away from that day-to-day routine
Yeah.
of wandering around the factory or the farm or whatever it is, the office, because...
If you don't have something else, you'll feel that you're missing out. And,
Yes,
and
yes.
the tendency is then to come back.
You need to have
and-
another attraction, a
Yeah.
pull factor.
Yeah.
You're not just feeling you're
I'm
less
only,
helpful.
I'm only useful when I'm in the business
Yeah,
contributing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you start developing a portfolio, maybe voluntary things in a business member organization, depending which sector you're in. If you're manufacturing, you join Kenya Association of Manufacturers and contribute there. Gives you a bigger picture because of all your useful experience. It can be a service club like Rotary, like I've been in and all the years I've been here in Kenya. It can be a director of another organization, not competing with you. It can be focusing on one particular aspect that excites you in your business whilst letting go of other aspects. Like, for instance, focusing on your corporate social responsibility aligned with the strategic development goals.
Okay.
As you get into your third age,
Yeah.
and you can enjoy doing that, making a difference in society, in the communities, while someone else worries about the day-to-day operations.
Yeah. What about the fear that the people you may be handing over, they may not be as good as you are, they may not do a good job?
But they may be better.
Okay.
Why shouldn't they be as good? Did you
Okay.
screw up on recruitment? Did you have?
Hopefully not.
Did you not have a good
You
recruitment
brought
agency?
Feminas on board corporate staffing and you did a good job.
Do you not attract the right people?
Yeah.
Do you not develop them as you
Yeah,
should
yeah.
relative to the emerging needs?
Yeah.
Do you not rotate them around so they get more
But there's that
exposed?
still that fear of letting go.
Yes.
Yeah. So how
Well,
do you overcome that?
So
yeah.
if such people bring in people like us, they seek to be influenced.
Okay.
They may resist it, but the need is for us to act as their coaches and to help them relax out of their fears and look forward to the pluses. Because you may well have justified fears as you've described, but surely you shan't have the bigger fear that results from not doing it. And that's what people don't appreciate. Because when you don't delegate and empower, what happens is what you started with. They say, I'm fed up with this, I'm not empowered, I can't make a difference, why should I be here? I'm off.
Yeah.
And so your company gets a reputation for disempowered, disengaged people who are there for a short duration. They're not engaged, including at the highest level.
Yeah.
That is what you should be afraid of.
Yeah. This is not the right place for me. Okay. Good. Thank you very much for those insights. So for the business owner or even manager, top level manager watching this, what's the next step for them?
The next step is to make space in your mind, time, physical time, to think about the sort of issues
Yeah.
you're asking me about, that we are talking about, and that you talk about when you engage with your clients, and that I do as a director, as a coach, as a consultant. It needs to be added to their priority time as an investment with a return.
So you don't wait for a crisis. You
That's right, yes. Yeah.
become,
Yes.
you know,
But because so many such business owners
Yeah.
say there isn't a crisis.
Yeah.
I don't have
Why
a
should
problem.
I bother?
Why
Yeah.
should I waste all those fees on him or on him?
Yeah.
I'm just carrying on with it day to day. I've got to close this deal by Friday. I've got to get that loan from the bank now.
Yeah.
Go away. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
Don't add to my costs.
Yeah.
So without that expenditure, with that cost minimization, you have all these other consequences for the longer term sustainability.
Interesting, and it goes back to urgency versus important.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And so if you're a business
Yes.
owner and you're only focusing on what is urgent,
Yeah. And you're,
Then-
and you're sub-optimizing to the short term,
yeah,
and presumably you're over-focused on what happened in the last 3 months
yeah,
and what's happening in the next 3 months without looking at the longer-term history going backwards
yeah,
and the longer-term aspirations going forward,
yeah,
because you're not sufficiently above the day-to-day operations.
yeah. Great. So thank you very much. For me, I think the biggest takeaway is create time. Create time. That's the biggest takeaway.
Invest time,
Yes.
and invest someone with whom you can have safe conversations
yeah.
about these issues,
Yeah.
who can pose challenging questions and help you find your own answers.
Okay.
Because you have them,
Okay.
but you haven't invested that time.
Yeah.
You haven't created that space within which to do it.
Yeah. So for a business owner interested in someone guiding them, where would they find you?
I have a...
Apart from reaching out to me so that I get to you.
Yeah, they can reach out to you.
Okay.
Reach out to you, or I have my email
Okay.
address, my website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll post it in the description. So thank you very much for those insights. And for those of us, who've felt touched with some of the things that Mike has addressed, we'll leave his contacts in the description. And you can also find out more about Mike through his website. And also keep up to date with the articles that he does for Business Daily. They're published on a fortnight basis. And
Every other Tuesday.
Every other Tuesday.
And my website is www.mike-eldon.com.
Eldon.com, not .cu.ke. So thank you so much for joining us today, and stay here for the next topic. Thank you.